Wukusu, peace, black power, and welcome to Harlem Liberation School's YouTube channel. Harlem Liberation School is a black nationalist, pan-African community organization based in Harlem. We provide relevant and credible political education to help black people wake up, clean up, and stand up, in the words of Brother Malcolm X. To do this, we provide panel discussions, political commentary, mini documentaries, leadership tips, classes, and interviews with some of our most dedicated and effective leaders, activists, and intellectuals around the world. The concept of Wukusu is very important to us and central to our mission. It is our greeting, our motto, and our guiding philosophy. Wukusu is an acronym for the phrase,
wake up, clean up, stand up.
Wake up means developing black nationalist and pan-African consciousness. Clean up tells us to identify and eliminate our self-defeating behavior that gets in the way of us being our highest selves. Stand up compels us to use our gifts and our resources to exert leadership in our communities to help liberate our people. We humbly ask you to subscribe to our channel so we can reach more people. We encourage you to like, share, and comment on our videos, and we invite you to donate to our work either through sending us a super chat here on YouTube or by sending donations through Cash App to $TRUSELF143. Now, let's build. Peace and black power families, Brother Ajay Taimba from Harlem Liberation School, where we teach our people to wake up, clean up, and stand up, in the words of Brother Malcolm X himself. Gave us that very important and concise three-part call to action. Wake up, get your consciousness and get your mind right. Clean up, identify the areas of your behavior and thinking that are self-defeating and clean them up. And stand up is to exert, take your God-given gifts, proclivities and preferences, and exert leadership in our community and help push our people forward. Family, we welcome you to Harlem Liberation School. Whether you're going to watch live or you watch the later recorded version, we thank you in advance. We are nearing 6,000 subscribers, not a lot, but the metrics that I get say that anywhere from 10,000 to 150,000 people come through every week. So we're just trying to figure out how to get more of you to subscribe when you come through to the channel. We are very, very happy to have a series called the Community Empowerment Series, in which we have been highlighting specific sisters in our community in different parts of the country who have rendered really beautiful and loving and dedicated service to our village. And so we have our last sister coming up is, of course, my lovely queen, Sister Brenda Hilaire. And we're going to be highlighting her. She'll be the last sister for this series, June 28th at 6 p.m. Eastern. I'm going to talk about what she does, how she came up, how her political views are influenced, and she'll be able to highlight and kind of outline some of the very wonderful work she does. We're trying to combat the narrative that our sisters are somehow to be scapegoats for all that's wrong with our community. Those of us who know our communities well know that black women have been the backbone of many of our organizations, be they spiritual faith centers or political centers or even our homes. So we're trying to challenge the narrative that we're going to beat up on our sisters, because if they have an illness, we got it too. Let's be very clear, right? If we have some issues, they most likely have them too. So we hope you'll tune in for that. Tomorrow we have our good brother Knowledge Born Allah, who has his latest ebook, The Power of the Black Family, that he's promoting. He'll be on at 6 p.m. as well. All right. Now, family, we are really privileged to have a brother on who is almost like a Paul Robeson in a way, in the sense that Paul Robeson did so many things at a high level. And this brother Heru Ofori-Atta, is a multi-dimensional thinker, healer, and a cultural visionary whose journey spans law, holistic health, the arts, and we might say social entrepreneurship. Trained in both science and law, he began his professional path in the legal field before shifting his focus to more creative expression and community wellness. As a spoken word artist and wellness advocate, he blends ancient wisdom with modern insight, using language and natural healing to empower others. His work promotes self-determination, health sovereignty, and a return to ancestral knowledge as a path toward personal and collective liberation. Brother Heru is also involved in developing sustainable solutions rooted in natural living and African-centered values. A passionate teacher and guide, he dedicates himself to restoring balance, mind, body, and spirit in Black communities and beyond, encouraging people to reclaim their wellness, their culture, and their purpose. With that said, I want to bring on our good brother, Brother Heru. Peace, my brother.
Hey, man. How you doing?
I'm doing well, man. Glad to have you on. I'm hearing your name is ringing out a lot. I'm seeing it all over Facebook. You're in different, you spoke here, you spoke there. I went to the website, man. I'm seeing some powerful testimonials about some of your products that we're going to get into. And we're just happy that you're here. I'm going to put a few things up on the screen so that people watching know what we're doing tonight, who you are, and that type of thing. Then we're going to get right into it. This is on the bottom, which remind people of what we do as Harlem Liberation School. Now, I think first and foremost, I guess the first question would be, what would you say are the root causes, both historical and current, behind two of our big diseases or illnesses in the Black community, high blood pressure and diabetes? Like, what causes that? Where does that come from as you see it, my good brother?
Right. So it's a very good question because when we talk about high blood pressure and diabetes, we're seeing that essentially, particularly in our communities, and this is worldwide, this is not just in America, but this is also in the Caribbean and Africa, which I spend a lot of time in both places, and also in America. What you'll see is the prevailing trend is if you're over 40 years old, at least every other Black person is on some medication for high blood pressure or diabetes. And this can be observed with your listeners. And so this has become normalized. And so taking high blood pressure medications or diabetes medications has become normalized in our communities and in our world, and it becomes just a part of life, and it's actually very abnormal. And we're going to talk about the causes of these problems, and we're going to talk about it from what we call a first principles thinking approach. And so when we talk about first principles thinking is within any problem set is the ability to identify and define the limiting factor within a problem set. So what you do is you look at a certain problem and you look for the one aspect of that problem that limits the solution, right? The biggest limit to the solution to the problem. And when you solve that problem, you find many times that everything else becomes a piece of cake. What it also exemplifies is that most problems have a simple solution if they're thought about correctly. And in fact, the simplest solution to a problem is the greatest indicator of intelligence. I'm gonna say that again. The simplest solution to a problem is the greatest indicator of intelligence. And we see this, for instance, in so I talk about this a lot with Dr. Sheikh Anta Diop's book. There's a book called Civilization or Barbarism, or in French, Civilisation ou Barbarisme. That's the original text, right? And they translate it to English. And he has a chapter in there about mathematics, how the ancient Africans solved mathematical equations. And what was very interesting about these equations, they came from different papyrus texts. So you would have and the names are really funny because of the colonizers who got famous for quote unquote discovering the papyrus. But aside from the names, you would have the Edwin Smith papyrus, you'd have the Rhine papyrus, and the Moscow papyrus. And in these papyrus, they show mathematical equations that the ancient Africans were doing thousands of years ago, right? And what was very interesting about those equations, they would be algebraic equations and geometric proofs. And what they showed was is that the ancient Africans of the Nile Valley civilizations, which is a techno-complex civilization where they've built structures that can be seen from the moon, and structures that have not even been degraded unless man degraded it in some way for over thousands of years. For instance, the ancient pyramids, you'd see some of the original paint is still intact. So what they saw with the mathematical proofs was that the ancient Africans were able to solve equations in what they refer to as in the most elegant manner. And so when we talk about mathematics and applied science, or even theoretical science, the simplest solution, or the solution that is made with the least amount of steps, is seen as the most, or characterized as the most elegant solution, right? So it's not about wearing a tuxedo or whatever, you know. It's a term of art within the mathematical world, right? That the ancient Egyptians and the ancient Africans solved mathematical equations in the least amount of steps in the most elegant manner. And so therefore, if someone is a chess master, he or she can get to checkmate in the least amount of steps compared to someone who's a novice who may require 100 steps to get to checkmate, but the check master may need only 3, right? So this ability to solve problems with the least amount of steps shows the greatest levels of mastery. Okay, why is this important? What we find out is that in life, solving problems in the least amount of steps is the most desirable way to solve a problem. And when we start looking at biological organisms, and we start looking at this thing called health and illness, it's quite instructive if we even look at something like a fruit tree. And I talk about this quite often. So I'm privileged to live, when I'm in the United States, I live in a mango orchard. I grow over 100 mango trees. And this experience of growing trees has given me a lot of insight and a lot of revelations into health and sickness. And when you look at a mango tree or a fruit tree, it's very clear that health is really seen in 2 aspects. So the limiting factors in health or sickness are simply this. The tree's health is completely dependent on these 2 things. Number 1, toxic inputs, or number 2, not enough nutritive inputs. So when a tree is receiving too many toxic inputs, that tree will exhibit illness and sickness, and it will die. If the tree is not receiving enough nutrition in the form of what trees like, nitrogen, magnesium, manganese, iron, these different aspects of nutrition that a tree needs, that tree will also die, and it will die really from opportunistic infections and illness. So when you feed that tree the correct nutritive inputs, that tree grows to be strong, will give you beautiful fruit, and it will fight off disease on its own. Okay? When the tree starts to falter, either you're not giving it the right nutrition or it's getting toxic inputs. And so this applies to human beings. And if we start looking at life and health that way, we start understanding that these diseases, cancer, high blood pressure, diabetes, autoimmune illnesses, are all based on those 2 factors. Toxic inputs and not enough or not the right nutritive inputs. And so when we start looking at toxic inputs, we start now looking at disease. And you mentioned Brother Malcolm, and I was quite a Malcolm X fanatic when I was, in university days, and used to study everything about Malcolm. And would be able to imitate how he talks and everything, and read all his speeches and all that. I was quite fascinated with the man. And I remembered that one of the gems that he dropped in his autobiography was the importance of studying the origin of words, which is called etymology and philology. Because when he was imprisoned, he not only studied the dictionary, he studied not just the meaning of words or the definition of words, but actually the historical context of words and the origin of words. That's a field called etymology or philology. He talks about it. And studying the origin of words gives you a huge insight and advantage in understanding history. And so when you study medical nomenclature is all in Latin. And this is very important because your doctors will speak words that sound so confusing to you, and you think that they're so overly intelligent, but all they're doing is they're speaking Latin. And what do I mean by that? All the body parts are named in Latin, and the majority of illnesses, over 80% of illnesses, end with the word itis. Itis is Latin meaning flame, fire, or inflammation. So what they've told you literally is that the majority of illnesses are inflammatory based illnesses. And this Latin thing is important. So like when people start studying world history, you understand that the Roman Empire spoke Latin, and they conquered Western Europe. And that's why in Western Europe, those languages are called Romance languages, Roman languages. They all have a Latin base. And so that would be Spanish, Portuguese, French. And then in England, of the language which we're speaking, all educational instruction was given in Latin because you are forced to speak the language of your conqueror. The Roman Empire conquered the British Isles. And as a matter of fact, when you look at Julius Caesar's biographies, in his autobiography, he kept journals. And when he attacked the British Isles and conquered them, his statement was that the people of the British Isles, which would be the Anglo-Saxons, the Britons, and the Gaelic people, the Celtic people, he said that they were so illiterate that they were not even fit to be slaves. That was his commentary on them. And so the language of civilization was the language of Rome, because Rome is the one that quote unquote civilized the British. So therefore, if you were to be engaged in any form of learning, you had to learn in Latin. You had to read the Bible in Latin. Medical science was taught in Latin. Law was taught in Latin. As a matter of fact, the English word for law is jurisprudence, juria meaning law in Latin. And so when you were trained in the sciences, you had to learn Latin. Many of Isaac Newton's work, a lot of the principal words and even the titles were written in Latin because that was the language of the educated. So till this day, because America is just a British colony, advanced learning was taught in Latin. And so therefore, when they identify your body parts, they're all in Latin words. And then they just add the word itis at the end of it to signify inflammation. So example, inflammation of the gums, gingivitis, ginger meaning your gums, laryngitis, inflammation of your larynx, tonsillitis, inflammation of your tonsils, myocarditis, cardiologist, meaning heart, inflammation of the heart, pericarditis, that is an inflammation of a different part of your heart, prostatitis, dermatitis, all of these different itises show up, and they are all signifying that you've got inflammation in a certain part of your body. And so if the majority of illnesses end with the word itis, itis means inflammation, the first principle approach to this is, what is inflammation and what is causing inflammation? And then we start to find out that inflammation is caused by only three things. One, injury. This is very important for people to understand this, because when you understand the foundational premise of health and sickness, you'll be able to solve your own problems. And this is what I do, is when I talk to people, I like to teach people how to think about these things, because then you don't need to rely on me. You don't even need to rely on some superhero to save your day. You've now been given a substrate medium in which to think about this. And then everything that grows from there will be progress, because you started from dealing with the limiting factor. And so the limiting factor is toxic inputs and not enough nutritive inputs. Inflammation is the toxic input part. So the toxic input is what is causing the inflammation. So, one, inflammation comes from injury. You can fall on a basketball court on your knee will swell. Swelling is always a part of inflammation. They go hand in hand. So if someone hits you in the shoulder with a baseball bat, your shoulder starts to swell. That's the site of inflammation. Two, inflammation can come from an infection. So you'd have a bacterial infection, viral infection, fungal infection, parasitic infection. That will be a site of inflammation. You'll see swelling where that particular inflammation is, where that particular infection is. Like, you might get a herpes blister, right? And it swells up. It's a virus and it swells up your lip. Well, swelling is always a part of inflammation. Now, the third and the most popular and prevalent aspect and cause of inflammation is metabolic. And metabolic just is a fancy way of saying food. When you look at food, the number one cause of inflammation from food is sugar. And we know this, and we know it very well, because we know what sugar does to our teeth. Our teeth and our bones are the hardest part of our body. So sugar can literally burn a hole into your teeth, which is the hardest part of your body, along with your bones. And that hole we call a cavity, right? If sugar can cause tooth decay in a cavity and completely corrode your teeth, then the question becomes, what is sugar doing to your soft internal organs, if it can do that to your teeth? So sugar is having the same corrosive effect, and that sugar is causing inflammation. That's where the corrosive effect is coming from. So whenever that inflammation finds a home, they give you the Latin name of the body part and add an itis at the end of it. So sugar is the number one cause of inflammation, and inflammation is the number one cause of disease. So that means that everyone should be taught about sugar and what it does to the body. Now, sugar is a very important topic, and I mean, we could talk about this topic for hours, but I'm gonna simplify it, and we can do many parts of this conversation. Today doesn't have to be the only day we talk. We can do this in segments. I'm happy to do it. But I'm giving people an overview and just a way to think about it. Because once you understand how to think about it, everything starts to make sense, and you're able to solve your own problems. And you won't need to be a customer of the medical system for the rest of your life, because what they do is they figured out a way to make us their customers from the moment that a baby is born. They want to put you on a vaccine and put you on a schedule until the day you die. So then you hit middle age, they tell you have high blood pressure, and you're going to have it for the rest of your life. You've got diabetes, you're going to have it for the rest of your life. And you have to take this pharmaceutical medication for the rest of your life. It's a way to keep you as a customer forever, from cradle to grave. They figured it out. And it's been working in terms of the pharmaceutical industry, because just about everyone is on some type of pharmaceutical drug in America. So you can understand how wealthy they've become off of our illness and never solving the problem. And so Our conversation is about freeing ourselves from these people and doing it where you can be healthy, strong, and understand how you can rely on yourself, because this is a Kuji Chagalia movement. You know,
Yes, sir.
self-care and health is probably the first step in Kuji Chagalia, self-determination, because we talk about the system. We can't control what other people do, but one thing you control is your health, because it's your health. So back to inflammation. Sugar is the main cause of inflammation, and the secondary cause of inflammation through diet is vegetable oils. That's this canola oil that people have, and people don't even know what a canola is, my brother, right? People go to the grocery store and they get canola oil, and they literally don't know what a canola is. Like, what vegetable is called canola, right? Um, then you have your soybean oil, your corn oil, sunflower oil. All of those things are toxic. And it sounds healthy because it says vegetable oil. So you think, oh, vegetables are healthy, so the oil should be healthy. But they don't tell you that the extraction process with the seeds is what makes it toxic. So it takes, you know, a whole lot of seeds to make a gallon of oil. And they extract the oil from the seeds with something called hexane, which is very toxic, which leaves an acid called linoleic acid in all these vegetable oils, which is extremely inflammatory and corrosive. So anytime you're cooking with vegetable oil, you're feeding yourself inflammation. So think about your body as having a fire inside of it, which is the inflammation. And then all you're doing is pouring gasoline on it every time you're eating sugar, sugar forming foods, high sugar forming foods, such as refined carbohydrates. That would be your wheat, your bread, your flour, like the white flour that people like to eat, the pastries, the cookies, the donuts, the cake, the pasta, the rice. All of these things become sugar within 10 minutes of digestion. And what happens is now you've got all the sugar in your blood, and the sugar is floating throughout your body, and it is locating itself in different parts of your body and causing an inflammatory response, like what it does to your teeth. And that's why heart disease is the number one killer of people. Why is heart disease the number one killer of people? Because your heart vessels, your blood vessels, rather, carry sugar in the blood throughout your body. So the vessels are the first thing that's hit.
Clogged
And
up.
so high blood pressure, let me just explain what high blood pressure is real quick, because your doctors won't explain it to you. High blood pressure, and they'll tell you it's caused by cholesterol, and it's not, by the way. Um, in the 1970s, there was a debate between two doctors, two nutritionists, PhD nutritionists. People can look it up. Dr. Ansel Keys and Dr. John Yudkin. Dr. John Yudkin said that high blood pressure and heart disease was caused by sugar, and Ansel Keys said that high blood pressure was caused by cholesterol, saturated fats. And Dr. John Yudkin's theory about sugar caused the sugar industry to panic. And so the sugar industry put all of their money into Ansel Keys. And from them putting the money into Ansel Keys, they created a whole new body of drugs called cholesterol-lowering drugs, aka statin drugs, which is $1 billion industry. The problem is that Dr. John Yudkin was right. Why was he right? Well, there's two reasons why Dr. John Yudkin was right. Since Ansel Keys' theories became the theory that was adopted by the medical institution, heart disease has done nothing but rise since the 70s. So what we know is that if you have the correct theory of a problem, the incidence of the problem will go down over time, correct? So if Ansel Keys' theory on heart disease was correct, that it was caused by cholesterol, and now they have all these cholesterol lowering drugs that they prescribe to everyone, then you should see heart disease rates going down over time. But heart disease rates are going up over time. So based on scientific theory, they literally mathematically are wrong. If you have the correct theory of gravity, you won't have planes crashing every day or the incidence of planes crashing going up, right? If you have the correct theory on gravity in flight. So if you have the correct theory about heart disease, the rates will be going down, but the rates are literally going up, where the Centers for Disease Control says that the top killers of people in the United States is number 1, heart disease, number 2, cancer, number 3 used to be respiratory diseases, but it's been overtaken since 2015 in a Johns Hopkins study by something called iatrogenics. My brother, do you know what iatrogenics means? Okay. I think your mic is off, by the way. So for your listeners, iatrogenics is a fancy way of saying death by doctor.
Wow.
Or death by medical error. So death by medical error is the number 3 leading cause of death in the United States. A lot of people don't know. So here's the thing. When I talk, I say a lot of things that people end up almost not believing because it sounds so crazy. So what I'm going to do is, if you allow me to share my screen, I will just show you something, because a lot of people never heard of me before. And so they don't know what I do. They don't know if I'm a charlatan, and that's fair. So it's up to me to give you receipts. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna show you little receipts and what I'm talking about. But if I go, too long, we'll be doing this for hours. But I'm going to try to truncate this as much as possible. But I think it's important for me to show some receipts. Here we go. So Johns Hopkins, are you able to see this?
Yeah, I have to add it. There we go.
Okay. Johns Hopkins study suggests medical error are 3rd leading cause of death in the United States. This is from 2016. Okay. And this is Johns Hopkins University, and the website is johnshopkins.edu, jhu.edu. And you can just, do Google searches, medical error and 3rd leading cause of death. You'll see it. Okay. So I've given you some receipts on that statement, because I know a lot of people would say, wow. So the 1st leading cause of death is heart disease. The 2nd is cancer. And the 3rd is death by doctor or death by medical system. And it's really crazy, because what they're saying by that statement is you can die of so many different things. You can die from a car accident. You can die from getting shot. You can die from respiratory disease. You can die from autoimmune illness. You can die from drowning. You can die from a shark attack. You can die from a dog attack. You can die from, slipping and falling on your head. You can die from AIDS. You can die from all types of things. But what they're telling you is, if you're in a hospital, that's the worst place to be, unless you got heart disease or cancer. In other words, any other thing, you are more likely to survive, besides cancer and heart disease. The 3rd leading cause of death is actually being in a hospital, and them giving you the wrong medicine, overdosing on medicine, making a mistake. It's medical error. So this is important. But you keep going to the same people who's the 3rd leading cause of your demise. So it'd be like this. It's like this. You have a leaking roof. But every time your roof is leaking, you keep hiring the company that is the 3rd leading cause of roof leaks.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Your car's breaking down. But every time your car breaks down, you hire the mechanic who's the 3rd leading cause of cars breaking down. Okay? This is what we're doing. And the thing is that doctors in the medical system, they get paid irrespective of results. So there's no incentive for them to actually heal you. You can have high blood pressure for 20 years, and then all of a sudden you've got kidney failure. You're paying the same doctor. You've got 2 diseases now. You got 3 diseases now. They don't get paid based on your success. Your cancer doctors don't get paid based on reversing your cancer. Whether you live or die, they still get paid. So what is the incentive to actually reverse your disease if they get paid anyway? Okay, that's a whole different, interview in and of itself. But I'm giving people the context in which we're dealing with and why your problem of high blood pressure and diabetes is not being solved through the correct thinking. Because anytime someone tells you you have this and it will never ever be reversed, and you have to take this medication for the rest of your life, means that they do not understand first principles thinking. First principles thinking is, what is the limiting factor? The limiting factor in the health of any organism is toxic inputs and not enough nutritive inputs. And if you deal with that foundation, the next question is there any deficiency in the body for lisinopril? Does the human body, have
Right.
any deficiency for metformin?
Right.
No. So to tell you that you have to take this for the rest of your life and it has no nutritive value means that it can only be toxic over time.
Can I need to ask you this very quick. I'm sorry to interrupt, because it's leading me to deduce a few things. So it sounds like what you're saying partially, for those who want to kind of know, because there's gonna be people here live. My queen is here. We've been through medical stuff, man, ridiculously. We got questions, but it sounds like you're saying we need to, once we know what the condition is, we have an accurate diagnosis of what the condition is. That's the first step.
Mm-hmm.
Then we need to find out what nutrients or nutrients we need, that this may be a result of a deficiency. So we need to find the nutritional deficiencies, get those supplements or foods or fruits or whatever, and then we need to do our best to cleanse our bodies of maybe internal toxins. I mean, we can't stop the stuff that the corporations are doing, but right? Is that correct?
Remove the toxins that you keep feeding yourself every day, and to cleanse yourself of those toxins. And I'll show you all how to do it. But yeah, that's the right way to think about it. Exactly what you're saying is the right way to think. And I'm going to tell you the easiest ways to deal with that and the most common nutrition deficits that people have and the most common toxic inputs that people have. Because if everyone's going to the same grocery store and everyone got the same sickness, it tells you something, right?
Yeah, man. Absolutely.
You understand?
Yeah.
So the point of the matter is that you're eating from you're all drinking from the same well and everyone's sick. So there might be something about what's in that well. And we, you and I have enough gray hair to remember grocery stores didn't used to have pharmacies in them. Pharmacy was a whole different store than a grocery store. But now all the grocery stores got pharmacies in it because they know that all the food that you're eating is going to cause you to be sick. And they want to make it convenient for you to get your food that's going to make you sick and the pharmaceutical medication, because they know everyone's sick. They know everyone in that store is going to be sick eventually. So they just got the pharmacy right there for you. Right? So they make it convenient. That's why another name for grocery store is a convenience store.
Convenience store. That's right.
Yeah. They want to make it real convenient for you to get your so-called medicine because they know everybody's sick. They know that the customer base is there. All right? Now we're going to dig deeper into this because you're going to see the toxicity of these medications, because the doctors are not telling people the toxicity of these medications. We're going to go into the medications like literally one by one. Right? We'll just do a little receipts thing, and I'm going to show you all, and you'll be shocked what you're seeing. So back to Ansel Keys and Dr. John Yudkin. Dr. John Yudkin says that sugar causes heart disease. Ansel Keys says it's cholesterol. The sugar industry throws their weight behind Ansel Keys and maligns John Yudkin's. John Yudkin's ideas, research gets pushed to the side, There's a whole new industry called statin drugs, cholesterol-lowering drugs. The problem is that it doesn't solve the heart disease problem. As we've seen, heart disease has gone up, high blood pressure has gone up, strokes have gone up over the last 30, 40 years since they've instituted cholesterol, anti-cholesterol drugs or lowering cholesterol drugs. And it turns out that the body actually needs cholesterol. Cholesterol is the building block for hormones. Cholesterol is also needed by the brain for the brain to function. And that's why when you lower people's cholesterol, granny and grandpa over time develop Alzheimer's or dementia because their body and their brain has been deprived of cholesterol. And so when I get customers calling me all the time and say, do you know anything about dementia or Alzheimer's? My grandmother, my mother can't remember anything. They say she has. The first thing I ask is what medication she's on. And if she's on a statin, we remove the statin. And my brother, within 2-3 weeks, granny and grandpa can remember everything.
Now I'm sorry, I gotta ask this because they prescribed me a statin. I don't take them.
They did.
At all.
Of course they
Because my
did.
mother worked in a hospital for many years, and she says they're gonna mess with your liver. They're not good, so I don't take them. But now the question is this: a lot of people watching this, I know, got cholesterol issues. So if we're not going to take the white man's medications, we should not.
I'm about to tell you what's going on with cholesterol because you have to understand the mechanism. Your problem is not too much cholesterol. The problem is that the cholesterol gets blocked by inflammation. And then you get a buildup of cholesterol. You see, so what's going on with high blood pressure, and I want everyone to visualize this, is that high blood pressure is caused by inflammation of the arterial walls. So your arteries get inflamed because of all of the sugar in all of the vegetable oils. It's causing inflammation. Remember what I told you, that inflammation is coupled by swelling. So now I want you to think about a garden hose where you're watering your grass, right? If you start to swell, the swelling happens and the hole of the hole starts to close and get smaller because of the swelling. So you get constriction. So the hole used to be like this for the water to pass through in the holes. That's your arteries. The water is just is analogous to the blood. Remember, the blood, after it comes from your lungs and your heart, is actually oxygenated and is trying to pass oxygen to deliver oxygen to your other organs to keep you alive. So it's an oxygen carrier. That's what your blood is. It's carrying oxygen. And so when this hole closes up due to inflammation, think about a water hose and you squeezing it. Well, if you want to get blood out on the other side or water on the other side of that constriction, what do you have to do? You either have to release the constriction, but they don't do that. What they do is they will give you something to dilate it at time, but doesn't deal with the inflammation. Or they'll give you something to make the water or the liquid thinner so it can pass through the hole better. Those are what you call blood thinners. You understand?
Mm-hmm. I do.
So this is an ass backwards way of dealing with it. Because if you still leave the constriction, guess what the heart has to do?
Work
To
harder.
it has to pump at a higher pressure, just like you would a water hose. If you want the water to come out on the other side, you'd have to turn up the pressure. So when you have to turn up the pressure to get the water out on the other side or the blood out on the other side, guess what happened? You've got high blood pressure. So high blood pressure is your body trying to keep you alive through the inflammation. So the way
Let
that
me ask you this. Now you're gonna have to bear with me because I'm a curious person. I'm hearing you say something. I'm thinking about it, and it's caused me to ask you questions. I'm not trying to be rude or
no.
interrupt your flow.
I love the questions. Please do.
So I got you, man. It's perfect logic, makes complete sense. But now I'm thinking this. So sugar is a bad thing for our bodies. It causes inflammation, and yet, you know, you eat your fruit, you get the fructose, right? So my question is, are there types of sugar from certain sources we need to avoid?
This is
Or
this is a great question. I get this question all the time.
yeah.
So the main problem is glucose. Okay. Fruit has two types of sugars. Fruit has a sugar called sucrose. Sucrose is a combination of glucose and fructose. Okay. Fruit is not just pure sugar because fruit also has nutritive inputs. Fruit has vitamins and it also has minerals. So you're not just getting sugar with fruits. But at the same time, the body does not care where it gets glucose from. So if it gets glucose from wheat, bread, sugar cane, refined sugar, fruit, it doesn't care because if you have a metabolic problem where your insulin's not working anymore, and that's I'll have to explain what diabetes is, and I'll have to explain how the body actually operates in terms of energy as a hybrid vehicle, then you'll understand more. Well, if you have this problem with insulin, fruit will spike your blood sugar and you will have a problem.
Mm.
Okay. So now I need to explain to you how the body works when it deals with sugar. Okay. And and this is going to explain diabetes. Then we're going to go into the medication. We're going to go into the solutions. So it's a great question that you asked. And please, there are no bad questions because everyone's trying to learn. So if you have this question, 1,000 people listening are going to have the same question as well. But fruit also has fiber. So because fruit has fiber, it slows the intake of the sugar into your body. Whereas when you don't have fiber, like when you're drinking soda and sweet drinks, there is no fiber and it goes straight to digestion and it spikes your blood sugar. And then you have to get an insulin release. But let me explain the body, glucose, and insulin. This is very important for everyone to understand. The crazy thing is that an 8-year-old could be explained this and they could understand this, but this is not explained to people. So they'll tell you have diabetes, but they don't really explain what's going on with you. And what's going on with you is insulin resistance. And people who have high blood pressure also have insulin resistance. But when you hear the word insulin, you're only thinking about diabetics. And it's not so. So most people in America have what you call metabolic disease or metabolic syndrome. And that is an umbrella term that under it is insulin resistance. Under insulin resistance is inflammation. Under inflammation are all these diseases, high blood pressure, cancer, diabetes, autoimmune illnesses, so forth and so on. So we start with the umbrella term, metabolic syndrome. Under it is insulin resistance. Under that is inflammation. Then under that are these diseases, these inflammatory-based diseases, okay? So what is metabolic syndrome? Metabolic syndrome essentially is that your body is no longer able to process glucose the correct way, and it causes insulin resistance. How does this happen? Well, you'd have to know about how the body uses energy. So the human body is like a Toyota Prius, a hybrid vehicle. So a Toyota Prius runs off of electricity and gasoline, right? So it can run off of gasoline and it can run off of electricity. So gasoline is a dirty fuel, and you have electricity like solar electricity, right? Which is like a clean fuel, right? So your body runs off of a dirty fuel called glucose and a clean fuel called ketones. Ketones are healthy fats that you get from things like avocado, coconut oil, all those types of things. Those are healthy fats. So your body runs off of two things, glucose and ketones. Glucose is analogous to dirty gasoline, and then ketones is like clean electricity, okay? I want people to think of it that way. So what happens? The moment that you eat food, my brother, particularly food with any carbohydrates in it, it converts into glucose. And whenever glucose is present in the body will use that glucose first for 12 hours. And then after 12 hours, if you haven't eaten, the body makes a transition to using ketones for energy. But when the body is using glucose for energy, it will use glucose first. And this is the way that human beings evolved, because human beings didn't eat every day. So what we did was we used sugar first, glucose for energy. And when you're using glucose for energy, your body simultaneously goes into fat storage mode. So your body will store fats for a rainy day, because we didn't eat every day. Food wasn't available every day. It's the first human beings. So the human beings had to have a system of operating off of glucose and storing fat at the same time. So for the first 12 hours, not 20, the first 12 hours, your body is drawing any glucose that's available and using that to run like a Toyota Prius. And at the same time, your body is storing fat. And during this period, your body is in a state of inflammation, because when your body is running off of glucose, remember, it's running off of sugar, it's taking that sugar intake and it's basically in an inflammatory state. But when the sugar has gone from your body, because it has burned that sugar, then the 12 hours, it goes into fat burning for energy. Here's the thing. Whenever glucose is present in the body, your pancreas and your liver are on alert, and they shoot out a thing called insulin. And what is the role of insulin? Insulin's primary role is to be a U-Haul truck. I want people to listen carefully. What insulin does is it delivers glucose, sugar, from the blood into the cell for energy. When insulin is triggered, your body is in a state of inflammation. It's an inflammatory hormone. It delivers glucose from the blood into the cell for energy. That is its main role. It's a U-Haul truck. But guess what? Here's the problem, my brother. Most people in America do not go 12 hours without eating.
Right.
So because of that, your body never transitions to fat burning mode and is in perpetual fat storage mode. That's why over time, people hit 40, 50 years old, you get fat deposits in the body, because they've been in perpetual fat storage mode. And there are images of people with metabolic syndrome, and I'll show the images. And nobody watching this should be ashamed of themselves. It's just that you've never been told this. So you never understood what's going on with your body. So I can look at somebody and I know if they have insulin resistance. I know if they have metabolic syndrome just by looking at their body. So for instance, here we go. I'll show an image. And when you start understanding this, and when I've shown people this who look like this, they now understand how to not look like this, because they understood, oh, my body's been in fat storage mode for the last 40 years without a break and going into fat burning mode, because I'm eating and never giving my body more than a 12-hour break. If you give your body a 12-hour break, which is called intermittent fasting, your body after that 12 hours goes into fat burning mode, and you literally start burning fat without doing any exercise, because your body needs a certain amount of calories to run your brain and all the other body processes, and it needs that energy from somewhere, and it's getting it from the fat deposits in your body, and it's literally burning the fat deposits away while you sit there and do nothing. This is why fasting becomes important. But look at this. Can you see this?
Yeah, I'm going to add it to the stand. There we go.
Okay. Metabolic syndrome is a clustering of at least 3 of the following 5 metabolic conditions: abdominal obesity, high blood pressure, high blood sugar, high serum triglycerides, and low serum high density lipoprotein. You're talking about this cholesterol thing that gets stuck because of the inflammation that I explained earlier. So this is what the typical image of someone with metabolic syndrome, man or woman, looks like. Do you see that?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay. So what's going on with this guy is he's not going more than 12 hours without eating. And when he's eating, he's getting huge insulin spikes. And what's happening is that his body is in a perpetual state of inflammation and fat storage, and all that fat is being stored in these areas. That's what's going on with him. But nobody sat down and explained it to him. So the solution is you don't eat as much, you don't eat as frequently. That's all. You don't eat as frequently. I mean, actually, not eating as frequently is more important because you can eat a lot in a time-based window. But as long as you give yourself more than 12 hours every day without eating, you go into fat burning. So for instance, every 3 months, I do a 100-hour water fast, which is 4 days, where it's just water in line. And here's what happens. In the first 36 hours, like clockwork, every time I fast, I lose 5 pounds in 36 hours. Every single time. With no exercise. Just sleeping and standing still and sitting still. And I lose 5 pounds. Now, my brother, do you know how many miles you have to run to lose the equivalent of 5 pounds? Just take a guess. Like how many 20 continuous miles. The answer is actually 81.
Wow.
You have to run 81 continuous miles to lose 5 pounds worth of calories. So now you have a decision to make. Do you want to run 3 marathons or just not eat for a day and a half? I would rather not eat for a day and a half. And what happens is that if you go on a schedule, so many people want to lose weight very quickly. People don't understand, like your body literally, your brain uses a lot of calories. As a matter of fact, they've done studies on people who play long form chess, like, like chess champions who sit down for hours and play. They found that those people burn more calories than athletes.
Wow.
Because they're using so much brain power during that time, their body's actually burning calories while they're playing chess. So your brain burns calories. And I have a whole chart of what happens to your body when you fast. We could do fasting just one day. We could just do a lecture just on, or an interview just on fasting. And I can show the charts. But what happens is that after about 24 hours of fasting, your body goes into a state called autophagy. Autophagy is literally self-eating. It's just Latin, auto, self. Phagi means eating. Phagocytes. So you have these phagocytes that get triggered that look for precancerous and malfunctioning cells in the body and eats them alive.
Oh, that's what Sabi used to say, something like that. I believe Dr. Sabi.
It's called autophagy. When you fast, that's what happens after 24 hours of fasting. After 72 hours of fasting, you get a whole new immune system.
What do you mean by that? I just want to be clear.
Your immune system, it gets reset. You get a whole reset of your immune system. I mean, it's crazy. I have a chart that I can show people. But the reason why this works is understanding what happens to your body over time in relationship to food, in relationship to not eating food. And so a lot of people who have all the types of debilitating sicknesses, they find that when they fast, all of the pain and all that goes away, which proves that it was due to toxic inputs. So it's called like elimination diet. So when you start eliminating certain foods from your diet, all of a sudden now your pains and these things go away. You identify the foods that's causing the problem. Those are the toxic inputs that we talked about. You find that the toxic input for people is literally sugar causing inflammation, vegetable oils causing inflammation, eating too much, not giving your digestive system more than a 12-hour break. Because if you give it a 12-hour break, you move into 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 hours. That 12 to 16 hours, that's 4 hours of fat burning. So that's why I tell people, particularly if you have metabolic syndrome, in the form of high blood pressure, obesity, diabetes, cancer, autoimmune illness. I tell people, do intermittent fasting. Now, a lot of people are scared by the word of fasting because it sounds so like fasting, you know? So I changed the word to time windowed eating, right? So you take a window to eat every day. And so some people do 16-8. I say the window should never be more than 8 hours of eating. It can be less, but it should never be more. There's a science to this, and here's why. If you choose 8-hour window to eat, therefore you say, I'm only eating food between 10 a.m. and 6 p.m. That's 8 hours. After 6 p.m., I shut it down. Only water in lime or lemon. Before 10 a.m., only water or lemon. Guess what happens? You've got 8 hours of eating, 16 hours of not eating. That 16 hours of not eating helps you get to your 12 hours. And you've got 4 hours left over before you eat again. But that means that every single day of your life with the 16-8 schedule of 8 hours eating, 16 hours not eating, every day you wake up, your body is engaged in fat burning for 4 hours a day. You understand?
Even without you exercising.
Without exercising.
That happened to me in the hospital, Brother Heru. I was in the hospital for about a week. I didn't trust the food. So every time I said, what do you want? I just had fruit plates. And they would eat maybe 6, 7 in the morning was breakfast. Then it was lunch. Dinner was at 6, 5 or 6. I wouldn't eat again until 5 or 6 in the morning. When I got out of the hospital, I lost like 30 pounds, like close to 30 pounds.
Here we go. You just proved it.
And because I didn't do any exercise.
Because of the cycle, your body went into fat burning mode.
Mm-hmm.
And you did nothing but lay down all day.
That's right.
Because your body was using the fat for energy. And that fat gets burned. And so you can do this. This is actually hacking your system, but people won't tell you this because fasting is free. They can't make money off of fasting. But I'll tell you, because I don't care about that stuff. I just want results. So that's why I tell people about fasting. Like, that is the cheapest way. And then when you do that, you find yourself spending less money on food. And then you start realizing that your food is never about you being hungry. It's about a habit. You see that we just overeat. We become gluttons in a gluttonous society. And there's nothing more liberating. A lot of us talk about liberation, but there's nothing more liberating than liberating yourself from the slavery of food. From the slavery of always wanting to eat something. The human body was not meant to eat 4 or 5 meals a day. Our early ancestors didn't even eat every day. And they were lean and cut. And here's the thing that people need to understand too. Where are the 80-year-old obese people?
Say that again.
Where are the 80, 90-year-old obese people? You don't see them. The reason is that old age selects against obesity. So obese person doesn't make it to old age because old age selects against obesity. That's why all the old people you see, 80s and 90s, 100 years people, are thin. Because old age selects against obesity. And so what you do is, and what I do is I have a 4-hour window to eat every day. So I do 24. I'm not telling people they need to be me. So I have 24. So I have 20 hours where I don't eat. I just drink water. And I have my lime juice right here. Fresh squeezed lime and water. And I drink that. And 4 hours, usually between noon and 4 p.m. That's when I eat. And I eat what you call ketogenic food. Ketogenic food is food that is no sugar, low carbohydrate food. So yeah, I'll eat fruits too. And it's done wonders for me. It's kept me looking young. It's kept me fit. I'm more fit now than I was when I was 20 years old. I can do more push-ups. I can do. And here's the thing too, is like we're getting health advice from doctors who are sick themselves.
Right.
Your doctor's on medication. Your doctor hasn't solved their problem. And you're getting sick, you're getting health advice. You're sick and you're getting health advice from a man who can't even do 10 push-ups.
Mm.
You understand what I'm saying? Doctors should be the beacons of health. They should be the greatest examples of the healthiest people in any society, because you should have figured out health and sickness. Like if it was my world in my country, all doctors would have to take a fitness test every year to stay a doctor. If you can't do 10 push-ups, you can't be a doctor. If you can't do 10 pull-ups, you can't be a doctor. You can't do sit-up, you can't be a doctor. Because you have to be the example of health for people. If you're on high blood pressure medications, you can't be a doctor. If you're on diabetes, you can't be a doctor. Because that means you haven't solved the problem. So then how are you going to solve other people's problems? I mean, imagine a mechanic who drives around with a broken down car that breaks down every day. Could you trust that mechanic? He hasn't solved his car problem. This is what I'm just saying. Like, if you start thinking about this logically, you start saying, wait, I keep paying these people to solve my health problem, but my health problem is still here, and they're telling me they can't solve it. I have to be on this medication forever.
And the health problem tends to get worse.
It tends to get worse with more
yes, sir.
medication. And we're going to get into why that is. And I think this is an appropriate time to do that now. So, okay, so but let me get back. Let me just explain diabetes real quick, and then we're going to get into the medications. So I just explained to you the body uses sugar for the first 12 hours. Insulin retrieves glucose from the blood and transport it to the cell for energy. It's a transporter. Okay. Your body's in a state of inflammation and fat storage for that 12 hours. Guess what happens over time? That U-Haul truck gets tired, man. The U-Haul truck starts to break down. You know why? You haven't given it a rest. Every time you open your mouth to eat something, it is a carbohydrate or a refined carbohydrate, which is in what you call the processed foods. And a lot of people don't understand what that is. So I like to use descriptive language. Food in a box. Any food in a box is processed food. It's in a box because they're trying to preserve it from being spoiled. Because the food industry had a problem. The food industry's problem is food gets rotten. So they had to chemicalize food so they would have a longer shelf life. This longer shelf life increases their profit margin and their profit so that the food doesn't get discarded. That's why they put it in a box and they chemicalize that food. But here's the problem. The longer food has shelf life is the shorter the human being will have shelf life. They are inversely related. The longer food has shelf life, the shorter the shelf life is for the human being. Because to make the food have a long shelf life where it can stay on the grocery counter for 3-6 months at a time, they have to chemicalize that food.
That's the toxins.
That's the toxic inputs. Now you see, now you're thinking of you get it now.
I do.
You see? And so all this processed food, which is adulterated food, which is chemicalized food, is what is made available to us. That's why they know in the grocery store they're going to have a pharmacy there for you, because all of the food there in the boxes is chemicalized food that is made to increase the shelf life of the food, to increase the buying opportunity for the food, which decreases your shelf life as a human being because of toxic inputs. Okay? Now, here's what diabetes is. Diabetes is insulin resistance. Your insulin has now become resistant to your body. What does that mean? That means that, like, for instance, I haven't had beer or alcohol recreationally since my freshman year in university, which was 1990. So I haven't had a drink of alcohol recreationally in 35 years. However, if I have a twin brother who drinks alcohol all the time for the last 35 years, and he's an alcoholic, I can take a sip of beer and get drunk because my body is now sensitive to alcohol because it's not used to alcohol. So I'm very sensitive to alcohol. I'll get drunk with 2 sips. However, my twin brother with the same genetic makeup, but he's been drinking alcohol all the time for the last 35 years, he needs a whole case of beer to get drunk. His body has developed alcohol resistance. This is what has happened with diabetics and people with high blood pressure and cancer. You've developed insulin resistance. You've released insulin in your body so much that your body has gotten resistant to it. And now that U-Haul truck is not able to move the same amount of sugar it used to because that truck is broken down. So back when you were young and you had a newer body, 18, 19, 20, you could eat all those donuts and maybe it would end up at 5 grams of sugar in your blood, and that insulin would come and move all that 5 grams and put it into your cells for energy. But you've been calling up that U-Haul truck, and now you're 50, and now you're in your 40s. That U-Haul truck, the wheel fell off because you never gave it a break. And guess what? It used to move 5 grams. Now it's just moving 3 or 2 or 1 gram. And it's leaving over another 3 grams in your body, in your blood. That leftover sugar, when they then take your blood sugar, you have high blood sugar.
Does that also, I'm curious, does that accumulation of sugar and the inflammation it causes also cause circulatory issues in the body?
Absolutely. Because you've got inflammation and swelling and you're getting blockage. That blood is not circulating properly. That's why diabetics end up getting their feet cut off and they end up going blind. You understand what I'm saying? So this is what's happening. So if a diabetic was explaining this, they would be able to understand what's going on, like why I have high blood sugar. You've got high blood sugar because your insulin is not moving all of that sugar from the food that you're eating, the toxic inputs. It's not moving at all like it used to. That's why they call it adult onset diabetes. Because basically your U-Haul truck has gotten tired. And that insulin can't move the same amount of glucose that it used to, and it leaves some over. And so what is left over in the blood is when they then test your blood and you have high blood sugar. So what they do, which is asked backwards, is they will pump you with more insulin. But the problem is that insulin is toxic because insulin is inflammatory. So now you've created more inflammation in your body over time. That's why people end up dying of diabetes when they are diagnosed with diabetes. Because all that insulin is causing a buildup of toxicity over time. The thing you tell a diabetic to do is stop the toxic input of the things that turn into sugar in your body, and you won't need the insulin. Your insulin ain't working, so do everything necessary not to need it. You only need insulin.
Intermittent fasting help with the intermittent fasting would eliminate the issue of the sugar, correct?
Bingo. Because because you're not eating. During that time, you're not eating, so you don't even, so there's throughout the day, and you've gone over 12 hours, so now your body is actually burning the fat. This is why this is so important. So this is why we've had success, because what we do is we'll give you, but let's go over the medications. Then I'll get into the success stories.
Okay,
so
because we're running out, we got like maybe another 10 minutes.
Don't worry, I'm going to run through this real quick.
Okay, then we have to have you back when you're available.
Yeah. So The number one medication that's given to people with insulin these days is something called metformin. Are you familiar with metformin?
I've heard it.
Okay.
I've heard about it.
Anyone who's diabetic would know about metformin. So what I teach people to do is go to drugs.com. Drugs.com. Yep. Gives you a full listing of side effects for all the medications you're taking. And so here we go, drugs.com, metformin side effects. Can you see the screen? You can share that screen? Okay. When we scroll down, I would like you to read to me what the first listed side effect is of metformin. I just highlighted it.
Death.
Death.
That's pretty clear.
Death from lactic acidosis. Death is the first listed side effect of metformin. Have your doctors told you that? Here it is right here. I just want to make sure people can see it. You've not been told that. Okay? Now, let me go over some common high blood pressure drugs. Losartan. Have you heard of Losartan?
No.
Losartan is a high blood pressure medication. And if you go here, you'll see it. And when you go down, the side effects, you will go down. There's so many side effects, but this is what I want to point out. When you go to renal, it says right here, common side effect. 1 to 10% of the people, renal impairment, renal failure.
That's the kidneys, right?
Yes. Serum creatinine increase. Serum creatinine is what your kidneys are supposed to clear out. And the higher the creatinine levels means the less your kidneys are functioning. So one of the famous high blood pressure drugs is called lisinopril.
Lisinopril, I'm familiar with that.
Lisinopril side effects. We look at lisinopril side effects, they will tell you very clearly serum creatinine levels will increase. Right here, out of 10% of people. That means kidney failure. Creatinine is what your kidneys are supposed to clear. So guess what happens? They know that up to 10% of people who take these drugs will get kidney failure over time. So you know what happens, my brother? The
Dialysis?
head, yes, dialysis. And if you go to a dialysis clinic, if you see 20 people on dialysis, 19 of them are on high blood pressure medications, but their doctors have never made a connection, a causal connection between their medication and their kidney failure. But the kidney dialysis clinics have, and they do. You know what they do? What zip code you living in right now? Just give me a zip code.
10031.
Okay. So the kidney dialysis centers will call all the CVS's, the Walgreens, the Duane Reeds, all the pharmacies in that zip code, 10031. And they will say, how many people have you prescribed Losartan and lisinopril to? And then they'll add up and it'll come out to like 100,000 people. Of the 100,000 people, they know that 10%, according to what we just saw, will come up with kidney failure. So they know in that zip code, there's 10,000 people who are going to get kidney failure. So that's 10,000 customers, and they build a dialysis clinic. That's why in all these Black communities, you see in dialysis clinics built up, because they know who's taking what drugs, and they know the side effects of these drugs. So they know, and they plan and project how many people are going to be sick just by how many people are taking these medications. And so what we've done is we've solved the problem. So when people go to herbalresults.net, I'm going to show people we've reversed high blood pressure, we've reversed diabetes, we've gotten these cancer reversals, but this is how you do it. You can share the screen with people, my brother.
Got you.
herbalresults.net, just go to the testimonials page. These are video testimonials. They are not written testimonials where you don't know who the person is, like Sue from Kansas or whatever. These are real people giving long form interviews with me who are former customers of mine who did our protocol. So we start with the cancer reversals. You'll see stage 3 prostate cancer reversal. You'll see stage 4 esophageal cancer. This guy was given 90 days to live. He took our olive leaf extract. Cancer reversal. This woman had stage 3 endometrial cancer, reversed. Breast cancer, here, reversed. And they're telling their stories, so people should watch it. And Dr. Charles Harrigan, this was our first cancer reversal in 2017. Prostate cancer, stage 4 breast cancer, stage 4 liver cancer here. This is a medical doctor who had stage 4 lung cancer spread to the brain, reversed in 4 months. Ron Bush, 78 years old, stage 4 lung cancer spread to the brain, also reversed. He tells his story. Prostate cancer reversed on the right. And then this woman here, stage 4 adenocarcinoma, spread to her lungs and brains, and she had high blood pressure and diabetes. She's now, her cancer has gone down 80 to 90%. And in the last 3 to 4 months, and her high blood pressure and her diabetes is gone, because they're all related. There is no reversing cancer and you still have diabetes and high blood pressure. All of them are related, so all of them should be reversed if it's done correctly. And then we have videos of high blood pressure and diabetes reversal, what we're talking about. This gentleman is out of New York. He came to one of my lectures last year. He had the highest blood sugar I've ever seen of 680, and he had an A1C of 13.4. And within 5 weeks, his A1C went down to 6.4. His blood sugar went down to 92. This guy, blood pressure, high cholesterol, diabetes reversed. Howard Dorsey, he tells his story. This guy was going to
reverse the same as eliminated.
Yeah, it's reversed. In other words, the numbers are now normal, and they're not on any medication, and they don't need any more medication. Okay, all of these people are medication free. Okay, they take no medication anymore. This guy was going to get his foot amputated. Everyone should watch this one. This is Max Glover. You see the hole in his foot?
Yeah, I saw that before the show. I was like, wow.
Yep. His A1C was 11, and he was able to go down to 5.5 within about 6 weeks. Okay, 6 weeks to 3 months. His A1C levels were normal, and he's off. He never took any medication. And you should hear the story. And his foot healed. They were going to cut off his foot without his consent. It's a nurse practitioner who gives our olive leaf extract to all of her patients for diabetes and hypertension. This is a medical doctor, an anesthesiologist who takes the olive leaf extract. And she was in this is Paula Goddard. She was in a hypertensive crisis, and she was going to go to the hospital emergency room, but we saved her visit by telling her to take this instead, the olive leaf extract instead, lowered her blood pressure by about 40 points within 3 hours. Saved her thousands of dollars by not having to go to the emergency room. So the products that people need to get are here. Someone asked about where's my book. You can find my book on the shop page. The book is entitled The Successful Eradication of Cancer Using an Intracellular Parasite Theory. The book is here. It has scientific evidence showing the parasitic nature of cancer. It has testimonials showing people who've used antiparasitics to reverse cancer. Then it has our protocol that is a combination of diet, immune system fortification. This is the nutritive inputs that we're talking about, and also antiparasitics. Then we have our olive leaf extract, which is our flagship product that has reversed inflammation and then the causes of all of these problems. And then we have our vitamin D3 and magnesium and zinc, which is magnesium, zinc, and selenium, which is the package for your immune system. These are the nutritive inputs that your immune system needs. Most people's immune systems in America is completely crashed, and they need to be built up so that your body can help you fight the diseases. And so these are the two things that your immune system needs. It needs actually 4 main things: vitamin D, magnesium, zinc, and selenium. So we have it available for people. We also have moringa and cilantro. We found that moringa works better with cilantro. Cilantro works better with moringa. We have CBD oil, and then we have Vitex for women for all types of gynecological issues. We found that it's because women are estrogen dominant, and this Vitex allows the estrogen to be balanced with progesterone. This creates natural progesterone in the body, which balances off the estrogen. And when that balance is made, then you see an alleviation or complete amelioration of endometriosis, PCOS, ovarian cysts, fibroid tumors, infertility issues, heavy menstrual bleeding, postmenopausal symptoms, and just a whole gamut. It's a hormonal issue where the women are estrogen dominant. They don't have enough progesterone in their body. And this is a natural supplement that creates progesterone in the body. So I just tell people, advise people, just go to the website. We have all the information there. The products are there. We have the scientific studies on the website. There's a science page. So it's a compendium of the research we've done for the different products. And you'd be shocked to see some of the research. And all this research is from the U.S. National Institute of Health website that tells you things like olive leaf extract works just as good in reversing high blood pressure as captopril or lisinopril, but it doesn't kill your kidneys. But your doctors don't give you that option because they're only trading pharmaceuticals. So your doctor has really just become an agent for the pharmaceutical companies. So they don't know anything about herbal medicine because the pharmaceutical companies can't make money off of herbs because herbs can't be patented because it's already made by Mother Nature. So the medical industry and the pharmaceutical industry are in cahoots where they're to enrich each other and not deal with anything else. So, that's pretty much what we're dealing with. The most effective use of time that people could actually employ is just go to our testimonials page and watch these testimonials, and you'll be blown away by the journeys that people went through. I'm talking about people who were told they have 90 days to live. Like we have people who had cancer who, like one woman went to go pick out her own gravesite, and she happened to meet someone at the cemetery who knew about my work and told her, you need to, your cancer is not a death sentence. Contact Heru at Herbal Results. And that's the woman there. Her name is J. Renee. You'll see her with the stage 4 adenocarcinoma. She met someone who follows me on Facebook when she went to the cemetery to literally pick out her own grave. And one of the workers said, no, contact the brother. And now the cancer's all gone from her lungs. And we're working on the cancer in her brain, and her high blood pressure is gone. She's lost 80 pounds healthily. Her diabetes is gone because we took the time to explain to her why you have cancer, why you have diabetes, why you have high blood pressure. You've got high blood pressure because you've got inflammation of your arterial walls from the food that you're eating that turns into sugar and the toxic vegetable oils. You've got diabetes. Yeah.
I'm sorry. I got to ask you this question. This is my love of my life right here, the Queen. Queen B, the co-founder of Harlem Liberation School. She has a question. And she's going to bug. I know if I don't ask you this question, boy, I'm in trouble. Do you have success in elimination of respiratory conditions and autoimmune diseases?
Absolutely. So autoimmune diseases, I'm going to say very quickly. So some of the top autoimmune diseases are lupus, rheumatoid arthritis, multiple sclerosis, maybe Crohn's disease be some of the top ones. But
Sjogren's disease.
Yeah. So check this out. Hashimoto's and Graves' disease and all that, right? So autoimmune disease, they've already told on themselves that it's a problem with the immune system. And 90% of people who come to me with autoimmune diseases, the hospitals and their doctors never check to see their vitamin D levels. Vitamin D is the main nutrient for the immune system. So if you have an autoimmune disease, you'd want to check people's vitamin D levels. Most Black folks' vitamin D levels are under 20. And if your vitamin D level is under 20, you might as well be walking around with AIDS. Acquired immune deficiency syndrome, not sexually transmitted, but what it means is that your immune system is non-existent where it cannot fight off opportunistic infections. And so, for instance, the months of November, December, and January are the months when all-cause mortalities increase. All causes of death increase during those 3 months, but they call it flu season. But because we live in a trash educational system, they're not telling you what it really is. It's low vitamin D season. It's low vitamin D season because we get vitamin D from the sun. And people are not out in the sun in the winter months. It's cold. They turn the clock back 1 hour so it gets dark early. You have less hours of sunlight. So people's immune systems, their vitamin D levels are the lowest during those months. And then during those months is when people's immune system cannot fight for them, and they end up dying from opportunistic infections. And so when it comes to respiratory illnesses, the main thing that stops respiratory inflammation of the lungs, is vitamin D. A lot of people don't know that. And if I had time, I would show you a study that during the pandemic, there was a study that came out that said that people's vitamin D levels were just at 50. We could have theoretically reached a rate of 0 deaths if everyone's number for vitamin D was at 50. I have the studies on my website, but they never taught you about vitamin D and the importance of vitamin D. And that's why a lot of Black folks are so sick. That was one of the things that you wanted to touch on. Most of us are so sick because we're in unnatural environments. We're tropical people. We're in cold environments. So now our body has still not adjusted and will never adjust because of our melanin. Our melanin protects us from the sun, but it takes us longer to process vitamin D. So we have lower vitamin D levels living in colder places. And when you get these low vitamin D levels, you have a low immune system. You have a low immune system, you die of all-cause mortality. Okay? So autoimmune diseases now. A sister contacted me about 3 months ago, and she told me, I've been told that I have a Hashimoto's disease. Hashimoto's disease is hypothyroidism. That means that your thyroid hormones are very low. Your body's not making enough thyroid hormones. They call it Hashimoto's. And I asked her, did they test your vitamin D levels? They call it autoimmune disease. Did they test the main nutrient for your immune system? She said, no. I said, go right there to the hospital and to your doctors tomorrow and get your vitamin D level and come tell me what it is. 2 days later, she contacts me again and says, Heru, I got my vitamin D levels. I said, what's the number? You know what she told me? My vitamin D level is 2.
Wow.
Now, the medical system tells you that your vitamin D level should be between 50 and 100, which is actually too low. The magic number is 150. But they cut you off at 100. And that's a whole nother conversation. I didn't get into it. But they cut you off at 100 so that you don't reach 150. The doctors are all trained to cut you off at 100. But 150 is the magic number. Because there's a doctor out of Germany called Dr. Harold Schell who reversed people's autoimmune diseases by getting their number to 150, their vitamin D number to 150. People with all types of autoimmune diseases, lupus, rheumatoid arthritis, and what have you. He got their number to 150 and glaucoma, got them to 150, and their diseases reversed spontaneously. But the medical system is going to cut you off at 100. Yeah, the medical system is going to cut you off at 100 because they don't want you to get to 150.
They want to keep you as their client.
Exactly, because you won't need their medications if you get to 150. Now, the other thing about autoimmune diseases, and anyone who has an autoimmune disease would know this, the main autoimmune diseases are typically lupus and rheumatoid arthritis. Do you know what the main medication that's prescribed for lupus and rheumatoid arthritis? It's called hydroxychloroquine. Hydroxychloroquine is an anti-parasitic that in Africa we use for malaria, and it's over the counter. We get it just like Tylenol. The question is, why are they using an anti-parasitic for an autoimmune disease? Does autoimmune diseases have something to do with parasites? And it turns out the answer is yes. And anyone can look into the work of Dr. Alan McDonald. Dr. Alan McDonald took the cerebral spinal fluid of all of his patients with multiple sclerosis. And when he looked under a microscope at the cerebral spinal fluid, guess what he found? Parasites, microscopic parasites in the cerebral spinal fluid of every single person with multiple sclerosis. This is found for cancer as well. That's why we developed the intracellular parasite theory. Dr. Alphonse Weber took the blood of all cancer patients, alive or dead, and put it under a microscope. In the blood of every single cancer patient, alive or dead, you're able to see microscopic parasites moving under a microscope, even in the blood of dead people.
Where do the parasites come from?
Parasites come from, we all have parasites. They come from water, they come from food, they come from the environment. They're either sometimes they are intestinal parasites where you can see them in your stool, or they're microscopic and you would need a microscope to look at them. And the microscopic ones typically are called protozoa. And the thing is, they've known this since 1891. For instance, I'll just share with you all a quick study from 1891 called The Parasitic Origin of Cancer in the New England Journal of Medicine, where the doctor found out, and these researchers found out, that all of these cancers had something in common: parasites. Look at this study. You see it?
Yep.
The Parasitic Origin of Cancer from 1891. People should take some time and read it. And the reason why you're not getting success in cancer is because they're treating cancer as a mutagenic disease instead of a parasitic disease. Mutagenic just means it's mutated genes from the somatic cells that can't stop dividing. So their medications are based on that, but the cancer rates keep going up every year. And actually, the World Health Organization said that by 2050, the cancer rates and cancer deaths will double by 2050 or go up by 70%. What does that tell you? That means that their theory has to be wrong. Because if their theory on cancer was correct, the numbers would be going down. Now, I can go on and on to the break of dawn, but the point of this is that I just wanted to lay this out. And next time I come on, we can focus on, we can do deep dives on, one particular issue. But someone asked about autoimmune disease, and autoimmune disease, we treat it just like we treat cancer, and we put you through an anti-parasitic protocol. We starve the parasites of their main fuel, which is glucose, sugar. We raise your immune system so they can fight for itself. Okay, which vitamin D3, magnesium, zinc, and selenium, because all cancer patients are deficient in vitamin D. All cancer patients are deficient in magnesium. All cancer patients are deficient in selenium, and all cancer patients are deficient in zinc. Isn't that a coincidence? And it turns out that those are the main things that your immune system needs. Because what it turns out is that the immune system fights cancer while we're even sleeping. It holds off cancer, but when you get an immune insult and your immune system crashes, you then get immune escape of pathogens and diseases. Exactly. And then everything runs amok. There you go. And then step three, we dealt with the diet, stop eating the sugar to feed parasites, and you then step up your immune system with vitamin D3, magnesium, zinc, and selenium. And then you take anti-parasitics like olive leaf extract. And I'm going to end with this. Every single anti-parasitic, whether it is pharmaceutical or natural, every single one has studies on the U.S. National Institute of Health website showing that it kills cancer. Every single one. Ivermectin, which is a pharmaceutical, another pharmaceutical is fenbendazole, mebendazole, albendazole, hydroxychloroquine, all of them have studies that they kill cancer. Olive leaf extract has studies on the U.S. National Institute website, U.S. National Institute of Health website that it kills cancer. Several studies. Black seed oil, Nigella sativa, several studies that it kills cancer. Artemisia annua, which they call sweet wormwood. Garlic, soursop leaves, neem, ginger oil, baking soda. I mean, the list goes on and on. If it kills parasites, it kills cancer. And so then we start to see the relationship between parasites and cancer. And I have studies from, 2019, 2020 stating that cancer is a parasitic disease. And if you just go on Google and put in cancer parasites, you'll even see the CDC admitting, and the American Cancer Organization admitting, that cancer is caused by parasites. Like, it's just there in front of your face.
So when they say there's no cure for cancer, they are blatantly lying.
I'm trying to show you. I mean, we reverse cancer, and we're on record of showing it. I'm going to just end with this. I'm going to just show people how you do this, and people can just do their own due diligence. Don't take anything I'm saying as gospel truth. Do your own research and use your brain and use the library of the world that you have at your fingertips with your smartphone. So, can you see my screen?
Yes, I can.
Okay. I would like people to research, to just put in cancer and parasites on Google, and then see what we find. American Cancer Society. Parasites that can lead to cancer. You see that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Everyone should read it. Certain parasitic worms that can live inside the human body can also raise the risk of developing some kinds of cancer. Okay? Let's go to, and that's the American Cancer Society. CDC, the Center for Disease Control. 2015 says, CDC researchers link cancer cells from parasite to human tumors. Unique case raises questions about misdiagnosis and treatment. Scientists and Centers for Disease Control at the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention have discovered cancer cells originating in a common tapeworm may take root in people with weakened immune systems, causing cancer-like tumors. I can go on and on. I can go on and on with this. I have hundreds and hundreds of studies in my book that you can just look at.
That's the book on your website, right?
The book on my website. So, I mean, you know, we talk about high blood pressure, we talk about diabetes, we talk about cancer. It's all under the same rubric. It's all under the same umbrella of metabolic disorders, and you keep feeding the problem. And so when you keep feeding the problem, you're never going to solve the problem. If you're feeding toxic inputs, you're never going to solve cancer. As a matter of fact, glucose is what cancer feeds off and what parasites feed off of. So the first thing that a cancer patient should be told is to stay away from sugar. But guess what they do when you get a cancer diagnosis? They tell you eat whatever you want. And when you're in the hospital, because I've lived in a cancer ward for a month and a half, I've actually lived there. I bathed in a sink in a cancer ward. And for a month and a half, because I was taking care of a sick relative. So I've seen everything. And in the morning, they feed you pancakes with syrup, donuts, cookies, ice cream, soda drinks. Everything sugary is what they're feeding in the cancer wards to cancer patients when cancer feeds off of sugar. And then when they send you home,
sounds like the sugar is more dangerous than salt. I always hear salt, salt, salt.
Well, it's the table salt that's toxic. Sea salt is not. The sugar is much more dangerous. And the reason why we know, and I'm going to end with this, and it's important for people to see this. Are you familiar with what a PET scan is?
CAT scan?
PET scan. So you've heard of a CAT scan, you've heard of an MRI.
Yes.
Yes, so then they have a PET scan. So a PET scan is actually more, it is more accurate than an MRI or a CAT scan or an ultrasound in detecting cancer.
Could you spell that type of scan? The first.
Yeah, I'm about to show you all. PET scan,
Okay.
PET.
Oh,
I'm about to show you all. It's called positron emission tomography scanning. Okay, but when we go to Stanford Medicine, what do we see? How PET scans work. Can you see this, bro?
Yes.
All right. A small amount of radioactive glucose, a sugar, is injected into a vein. The PET scanner takes a picture of where glucose is being used in the brain or the body. PET scanning, listen carefully, people. PET scanning utilizes a radioisotope tracer that is an analog to glucose called fluorodeoxyglucose. FDG accumulates within malignant cells, that's cancer cells, because of their high rate of glucose metabolism. Listen to what they said. FDG, which is this form of glucose, it accumulates within cancer cells because of cancer cells' high rate of eating glucose, which is glucose metabolism. Once injected with this agent, the patient is imaged on the whole body PET scanner to reveal malignant lesions which may have been overlooked or difficult to characterize by conventional CT scan, X-ray, or MRI. Do you see what they just told you? They told you that the PET scan works because they inject you with radioactive fluorescent glucose. The reason why they inject you with radioactive fluorescent glucose is because they know that cancer cells feed off of glucose 20 times faster than regular cells. So whenever glucose is present in the body, cancer cells and parasites are greedy and take them up before the other cells can. But because they've injected it with fluorescent radioactive glucose, when the tumors eat the cells, they light up. When the tumors eat the glucose, they light up. And then they scan you, and everywhere where the light is in your body is where the cancer tumors are. And then that's where the doctor says, you have a tumor here, you have a tumor there, a tumor there. So that means that the medical establishment knows the relationship between sugar feeding tumors. So then why is it that when you're diagnosed with cancer and you have tumors, the first thing they should be telling you is don't eat sugar. Don't eat carbohydrates. Don't eat refined carbohydrates that quickly turn into sugar, because you're going to feed the tumors, because that's the only way a PET scan works, which is more accurate than an MRI or an X-ray. Do you see where I'm getting at?
Listen, I am with you 100%. I've been listening very carefully. I'm curious because I know we're getting ready to end, and we got to get you back, brother. I know you're busy. I'm going to hit you up and pray that we can get you on another time soon. But I do have this question to ask. For people who are watching this or who are going to watch the recorded version, that's going to be blown away with their jaw hitting the ground like me and my lady right here. What can they do tonight or tomorrow morning to get started in a healthier direction? Like, what's something they can do immediately to get started?
Okay, so I believe in people, it's a term called reverse engineering success. So the best thing you can do, really, if you want detailed information, is just go to my website, herbalresults.net, and go to the testimonial interviews and look at the people with high blood pressure and diabetes and how they reversed it. And simply what they did was they took a ketogenic diet, which is a diet of no sugar, low carbohydrates. Some of them did intermittent fasting, in other words, time-based eating. Choose 8 hours to eat and stick with it, 6 hours to eat and stick with it, and don't eat outside those hours. And make sure that you don't take sugar and you don't have refined carbohydrates like white flour, bread, all that. Cut that out your diet. And then you will take our olive leaf extract. It will detox your body from the toxic inputs that you've been feeding it. It will reverse the inflammation. And then you boost your immune system with vitamin D3 and the magnesium that we make. And so just those three products alone will deal with most of your issues that you have, whether it be, high blood pressure, diabetes, respiratory illnesses, autoimmune illnesses. Is going to deal with it in a very serious way, because it's going to help your body help yourself. So you're going to stop taking the toxic inputs and you're going to add nutritive inputs, and you're going to have the olive leaf extract clean away the toxins. And then you're going to raise your immune system, which is going to help you fight all of these problems. That's vitamin D3, magnesium, zinc, and selenium. So you get those products and you get the olive leaf extract, you should be good to go. But I don't want you to just take products. I want you to understand the mechanism as to why you're sick. Because if for some reason you can't get my products and you're somewhere in the world, you'll know exactly what's going on with you. You just know that, hey, I need to stop feeding myself inflammation. I need to take anti-inflammatory herbs, and I need to boost my immune system with vitamin D3, zinc, selenium, and magnesium. Those are the things that you need. And if you start doing that, and I always tell people, just give me 30 days. 30 days. If you give me 30 days and you follow what I'm saying for 30 days, as just an experiment, you'll see that your high blood pressure is gone. You see that your high blood sugar is gone. You see that your tumors have shrunk. You see your respiratory illnesses has gone away. You'll see it. Just give me 30 days. That's all I'm saying. Try it for 30 days, because if it works in 30 days, you solve the problem and you're no longer now a customer of the pharmaceutical industry for the rest of your life that is causing deleterious side effects with the medication that they're giving you. Because we didn't even go through all the side effects. But if you're taking high blood pressure medications, the main side effect is kidney failure. Metformin, we saw that the first listed side effect was death. You know, I mean, I could go over so many different medications. They have an oncologic section where they show certain medications literally cause cancer. I mean, it's absolutely crazy. And we can do, you know, more of these conversations. I have no problem with it, because the more people find out about this, the more people can save themselves, man. So I have nothing better to do than to show people the mechanism on how they can save themselves. Because if you do this and you take this as a way of life, man, you can be 60 and feel like you're 25 years old. You get your 25-year-old body back.
That's what's up. Well, Brother Heru, man, we thank you. This has been not only helpful, informative, it reinforces my spiritual beliefs. I don't know if you believe in a Most High, but it makes me feel like that this Most High, this force, put everything we need. And sometimes we just gotta get the devil, or metaphorically, the toxins out the way. And we have everything in our bodies. That's amazing, to fight most things. But we have to get the toxins out the way. That's very deep to me. It's more than biology. It's a spiritual piece to that that's really, really powerful. But in any event, we appreciate you, good brother. And we're going to definitely, I already checked out the website. We're going to check it out. We're going to share the video widely. And definitely going to support your products. And I know I'm definitely going to do for 30 days. I'm definitely going to commit to, I think you said, a ketogenic diet.
Ketogenic diet with the time-based window eating.
Yep.
And then you take the olive leaf extract 3 times a day, and then you take the magnesium 2 pills a day, and you take a full dropper of the vitamin D3 a day, once a day. The instructions are on the website as well. You do that for 30 days, and you'll see a stark difference in your life, bro. Stark difference in your energy levels, your fitness levels, your mental acuity, just general well-being. If you've got high blood pressure, you see where you won't need these medications anymore. If you got diabetes, you'll see you won't need. I mean, this is just, it's science. And so just try it for 30 days. I tell everyone, just try it. And if you try it and your problem is solved, you've solved the biggest problem of your life.
Now, for the medication analysis, that's drugs.com.
Drugs.com, just look for what they call severe, common, and long-term side effects.
Gotcha.
Drugs.com is the best website, and you'll be able to see all of the side effects of the medication you take. And when you see it, you will be absolutely shocked. And we can do it next time. We can, like, next time, you can give me a list of your medications, or your wife's medications, or family members' medication, and we can go one by one through the side effects. And you're going to find that they're suffering from the side effects of these medications in one way or the other. You're going to find that. You're going to see it.
I'm excited about that, man. That's what's up. I'm excited about that. Brother Heru, I know you are busy, man. I'm going to try to get in touch with you or email or you know, messenger or whatever, and maybe we'll try to arrange another time to chop it up. But this has been most informative and deeply appreciated.
No problem, man. It's been my pleasure, my honor to come on your show. You're doing great work by exposing people to different people with great ideas, great performance, and evidence of results. And, you know, I don't take coming on your show lightly. I don't care if you've got 1 follower or 1,000 or 1,000,000 followers. The fact that you have the intention to put this show together for the benefit of our people means that you deserve to have the best on your show. And so I was honored when you invited me to be on your show, and I hope that the people got value from listening. And, you know, the thing is that brothers of the light of the same mind and sisters of the same mind who want our people to advance to a place of power in this world, we all have to work with each other and network with each other to leverage each other's audiences so that our people will benefit, so that we can really engage in Kuji Chagalia activity. So I know that you're thanking me for coming on, but I also would like to thank you for putting this platform together, because you didn't have to do this. You didn't have to do a platform like this. And, you saw that it was important to expose people to this information. So, I salute you for putting something like this together, and your resilience and, staying with it, and the commitment and being consistent. So thank you.
No doubt, my brother. Thank you as well, man. And like I said, to those watching, if you just came on here late, don't be a lazy Negro. Go back and see it from the beginning. Go back and go through the whole thing. If you got to see it 20 minutes this time, 20 minutes the next time. This is our health, our physical health. And if you're not here, then as it relates to you, nothing else matters. As it relates to you, if you're not here. Other people will go on, but your existence is gone. So we do have to stop being the people that die the earliest in the world. We have to end that, and we have the ability to do that. Don't we, Brother Heru?
Absolutely.
We got the ability to do that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I bet the white man would say that you can't call yourself a physician or a doctor, correct?
Well, it's very interesting because I have a degree in biology, right, and psychology with the focus on neuroscience, and then I have a law degree. So my law degree is literally called a Juris Doctor. So in some sense, yes, but I wouldn't actually want to be in company with these medical doctors.
Okay.
And the reason is
like
because they're not taught to think about anything but two things: cutting something out of your body or giving you pharmaceuticals. So for instance, you can go to your medical doctor and you can say, "Doc, I know that you said I have high blood pressure. I would like to defeat high blood pressure without pharmaceutical medications." And it'll be nothing but crickets. They'll have nothing to say to you. They have nothing, which tells you that the only tool that they have is pharmaceutical drugs. But the problem is that they're not telling you the side effects from these pharmaceutical drugs. These pharmaceutical drugs have crazy side effects, and people are not aware of these side effects, because if they were aware of these side effects, people wouldn't take them and would look for alternatives. See, so I can't be in league with the people who are not incentivized to actually perform. Medical doctors are not incentivized to perform. They get paid irrespective of whether they solve your problem. So I'm into problem solving. Yes, people don't go to herbal results until they see that there's people's problems been solved. And we're going to have to start having a new corpus of thought around expertise. Expertise, and I always say expertise must be judged and measured on a person's consistency and quality of results, not their titles, not how many cosigns they get from the media or what have you, because what happens is that we end up becoming victim to personalities based on so-called authority. And we saw that during the pandemic. All they had to do was give you a European man with glasses and white hair and call him Dr. Fauci, and you thought he was an expert, when he actually has an abysmal record when it comes to results. He's the guy who presided over the AIDS pandemic, and he's the one who made AZT come off the shelf again, because they put it on the shelf. It was actually so toxic as a chemotherapy drug that they discontinued AZT. And Fauci is the guy who reinstated AZT for people with a ruined immune system. And chemotherapy ruins your immune system. People don't know that. Like people don't even know chemotherapy came from mustard gas from World War II. They don't even know that. And when chemotherapy spills in a hospital floor, the whole hospital floor has to be evacuated, and it can only be cleaned up with people with hazmat suits.
Wow.
And this is what they put into the body of a sick person who's already have a weakened immune system. So a lot of people who die from cancer, even dying from cancer, they're dying from opportunistic infections because of their immune system. A lot of people who die from cancer actually die from pneumonia. They don't tell you that. So what I'm saying is that as a people, we have to be a results-based people if we're going to go anywhere. Because if we're into people who are quote unquote famous is something that is made and manufactured through the entertainment and the media system. So, you go on CNN or whatever, and people think that you're popular, but no one bothered to look at your track record. Even go to your oncologist and they want to give you chemotherapy, radiation. Ask your oncologist the last 5 people that he or she reversed their cancer, and can you get their phone number and speak to them to get a reference? People never do that. People can do that with me. All the people you see on my website, you can contact them and speak to them. You go to your oncologist and say, oh, you want me to do this? Let me know the last people who did this and if they survived and if they got no evidence of disease. I'd like to talk to them. But no one ever asked these doctors that, because you think that the doctors are the ones in charge, but you're actually hiring them. And if you're going to hire someone, you have to have a vetting process. Just like if you were getting hired for a job, they would ask you for references. Boom. If you have cancer, you have a right to ask your doctor. If you have high blood pressure, you have a right. You have diabetes, you have a right to ask your doctor for references of the last people that he treated that got reversals. And it'll be crickets.
References, receipts, and resumes.
Yes, because I'm required to give that. No one would take me seriously if I did not have a library of receipts. They would just say, this guy is just talking. Mm-hmm. But because I have a legal and a science background, I understand what I have to produce. I have to be able, if I tell you that I've had success in reversing cancer, I have to be able to produce the people who have worked with me and gotten the success. That's why you'll see over a dozen on my website. And there's much more. Some people just didn't want to do videos, because I got to find out through this work that some people who got cancer never told their families, and they just came to me. And they didn't want to tell their families. They didn't want their families to be scared or stressed. So they came to me, then they got reversals. And then when I say it's time to do an interview, they say they didn't want to do it because they didn't want their family to know they had cancer in the first place. I mean, it's crazy. The stories I have are crazy. I have crazy stories, man. But the point, and I know you got to go, and we all got to go, but the point of the story is this. The point of it is this, is that for us, as Marcus Garvey said, for us as Black folks to get out of the situation that we're in, we're going to have to become scientists par excellence. And science is based on results that can be replicated. So if you've got results, but they can't be replicated, it don't matter. Mm-hmm. That's what science is about. If you put litmus paper in acid, does it turn red? If it turns red, yes, it's acid. And it happens every time. This is science. So you have to understand that whatever you're doing, you've got to get repeated results for people. And if you get repeated positive results, then people can start trusting you in what you're presenting to people. The medical industry, its repeated results is the fact that it is the number 3 leading cause of death in the United States. That's their results. Heru didn't say it. Harvard University says it. Johns Hopkins says it. The 3rd leading cause of death is iatrogenics, medical error, death by doctor. So it's time to start putting the medical industry and the pharmaceutical industry on trial. And tell them that they're underperforming and we're not happy with it. Because my father had high blood pressure and then he got kidney failure under the same doctor's care. Grandma got the same issue under the same doctor's care. So what's going on? They're just managing illness to keep you customers forever and never solving the problem. And so I'm going to end with this. The medical system is a box. And in this box, only two things can exist. And anything outside of these two things can never exist or be taken seriously. One, it must make the medical and pharmaceutical industry money. Whatever intervention, it must make them money. And number two, these are only two things. It must keep you coming back. Other words, if something makes them money but doesn't keep you coming back, they will not offer it to you. How can I prove that? I can prove that. If they had a pill that cost $1 million and you could take it and your cancer would never come back, they would not offer you that pill. Because even though they would make money, it wouldn't keep you coming back because it would solve the problem once and for all. They would never make that pill available.
You know, Chris Rock actually said that in a concert. Chris Rock said almost verbatim what you just said. He said the money is not in the cure. The money is in, I forget how he said that, but he said it's to keep you coming back. They're
That's
not
what it is.
interested in curing you.
This is what it is, because that's their business model. It's to keep you coming back. It's like a drug dealer, you know, on the street. He needs the fiends to keep coming back. That's the business model. They'll never sell you the thing that gets you high forever or for one hit.
You're right.
They got to keep you coming back. This is the point. Right. And so anything outside of that will be ridiculed. It'll be told that it's misinformation because it solves the problem once and for all. That's why I'm adamant on teaching people the root causes of these problems so that you can solve your problems once and for all without me. You don't need me once you understand the root cause of your problem. You don't have to be dependent on me. But what they've done in these societies, they've created a dependent race of people who can't solve problems on their own and have to pay other people to solve their problems in a halfway manner to keep us coming back. So I'll end with that.
That's what's up. Brother Heru, we are going to be in touch, my brother. I hope that God continues to bless you and guide you and protect you and help your work to get shared all over the planet so that our people can get well again and reclaim our health, because that's part of it. We talk about reclaiming our greatness. We used to be a really healthy people, but until we got foreign intervention and colonization, and part of that reclamation is reclaiming our health. So we're really thankful to you, good brother. I'm going to stay in touch. Thank you so much, man, for giving us all this time and energy and insight. We really appreciate you for that. And that's
no problem.
Sincere.
No problem. It was a pleasure, man.
Yes, sir.
All right.
The rest of you watching, you know how we say Wukusu, the acronym, which means wake up, clean up, stand up, that Brother Malcolm told us. And, you know, Brother Heru is basically did all three. He gave you knowledge, wake up, clean up. He helped you to understand, oh, man, I'm eating this sugar. I'm doing this wrong. I got to change that. And so that we can stand up. So we thank him for that. And brothers and sisters, we got black people, new Africans, continental Africans, diasporic Africans that are doing everything under the sun. Have faith. We are doing everything, experts in everything you could think of. It's just a matter of connecting the dots, right? And we will be free. We got to believe that. Brother Heru, thank you, man.
You are quite welcome.
We're going to catch up with you soon, okay?
No problem, man.
All right.
All right.
What'd you say, babe? Stay on for... Oh, he left. All right.